Hi guys, welcome to my new video series, Agile Development 101. This is the first episode and I'm just going to introduce the case study that I'm going to use throughout this series. The case study is a web application that I have developed in my spare time. It bears some similarities to something that I work on at my job. Although the application is simplified a great deal and is meant to demonstrate good agile techniques and principles, although there are some aspects of it which probably don't 100% live up to the ideal, and I want to go over those as well. So the application is called Agile Freight because it is a freight forwarding tool. Right now, there's only one. There are two aspects to it. So here we've got a splash page which is static. It doesn't really do anything. There's a login system. You can log in, log out, and if you have admin access, you can do some admin stuff. Under customers, you get a list of customers, and currently the only thing you can do with customers is you can issue quotes. And issuing a quote, the process involves inputting some data, what I'm calling the header. What sort of freight is being sent, where is it being sent from and to, and what are some properties of the shipment. Then there's a charge editing screen, which actually draws from a database of rates which are stored in the system, and there's a management tool for those rates. Once you're done editing the rates, which you can do by hand, or the charges, then you can edit some nodes, some exchange rates, and you can send an email. And it will actually send an email externally along with the quotation. Right, so that's basically what it does. And rate management over here, under rates, you can add and remove rates, which have a variety of properties. For instance, you can separate the rates between loose and containerized, or you can make them independent of that. You can have fixed prices, or you can have rated prices. These are all common, properties of rates in this business. But basically, this is it's a data entry and kind of document output type tool, which has taken its first couple of steps. Now, there are a few technological, or what do I say? There's a few interesting features which come from the technology I'm using. So one is reactivity. So you see my customer list here. This is a view based on my user. So my user sees these two. I have another session open, right, with the same user, but it's in a different browser. So it's a completely different session. It could even be on a different computer, and it would work the same way. I can change something here, and it will show up here. So here I have this particular customer is favorited. That's what the heart is about. If I click on it, I can unfavorite it, and it becomes unfavorited in the other session as well. So this property is called reactivity. This is from one of the libraries I'm using. And so basically you have kind of like live updates to the data. And yeah, so that's one of the key features that's built in, along with, so that comes from a tool called Meteor, which is client and server code written at the same time. Most of the time, it's isomorphic code, and it allows you to do things reactively and also to perform optimistic UI. So optimistic UI is like, if I click here, in a typical application, what's going to happen is it's going to go to the server and say, please give me the page for pyrotech engineering materials, come back with the page, and then my browser will load it. But in this application, the client also knows how to render this page. So first thing it will do when I click on it is it will render the page. Then it will go to the server and validate that the page that it rendered was correct. So it's called optimistic UI because the client was optimistic that it had the correct information at the time of the click. And so it assumes it's correct and then must be proven incorrect by the server. And what this does is it dramatically reduces loading time. Basically, there is no loading time because everything is on your computer. Except in the rare case where there actually is a mismatch between this client and the server, and then it gets resolved. But that's very rare. Okay. So that's the tool that I've built. Okay. This has been built on GitHub, which is an open source. Well, it's a cloud repository for applications. You see, this is my GitHub page, which is public, along with all the source code and all the history. And you can also see like all the different branches of code that I have. You can see under pull requests the different versions that have been created and what was in them. And it is also integrated with two continuous integration services, one called Circle CI and one called Travis CI. So here is a little badge which says whether or not the current version of my code is passing all the tests for Circle CI. If I click here, I get all the information about my builds. And similarly on Travis CI, I get all the information on my builds here. Right, green means it's passing. Okay. All those tests, which are, I mean, the reason it's passing is because there's a bunch of tests that I've written, automated tests, and those also run on my local machine under Mocha. So as I code over here, this will update with the passes and failures of all my tests, along with the duration. And as you can see, there's a lot of tests which describe the code here. So those are the main artifacts I have. My development environment, I'm running in Webstorm, which is a popular development environment for writing web applications. And here I have two small files open just to demonstrate. It's primarily written in JavaScript. Here I have a reducer, which is basically processing user interactions. And then I have a corresponding test file, which uses Mocha to test that the code is working properly. This is where all those tests come from under Mocha and also in Circle CI and Travis CI. Okay. Right. So this is the tool that we'll be talking about in the future videos. I will try to make it publicly available and post a link in the description so that you can also check it out, although the version may change depending on when you see this video. It may not look exactly the same anymore as what you see now. Yeah, and so I look forward to seeing you on future videos where we will go through how this was made and how to develop it further in accordance with Agile. Thanks and see you next time.